Max, and welcome to Canada's Boxing Channel. So, to everybody who's watching, we have Max Jenkins, a British professional heavyweight boxer, with us today. Max, it's great to have you join the channel.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Bob. It's nice to be there or here. Sorry.
So, for those who are subscribers and watching, Max and I have never met, and we spoke for the very first time maybe 20 minutes ago. And I said to Max, anytime you want to come on the channel, please do. And here we are, like literally 15 minutes later. So, Max, I understand you're in training for your next fight. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I've just started camp. I mean, I've sort of got in and out of the gym, but I haven't had a proper routine the last 12 months because I've had a job in London. Now I'm back in Hull, back to where I can live and stuff like that. I've just got back into the swing of things, getting a little bit active, and over the next 6 or 7 weeks I'll be out in the ring. So, got a couple of opponents put to me. We'll see. So it might be in Sheffield, it might be abroad. We don't know yet. We're just seeing what's happening.
Well, excellent. Yeah. And I understand that you've got a new coach, a new trainer?
Yeah. So I've got this new coach called Tony Booth, he was a journeyman. Anyone remember him? They called him Tony Too Smooth Booth, based in Hull. He was a journeyman heavyweight. He was literally, I think he originally started up as like a middleweight, then moved up as time went on.
Yeah.
For over 150 fights. He won 50. I think he lost something like 90 odds. You know what I mean? So, yeah, but he was a good fledged journeyman, to be fair. It's a journeyman sort of type where you turned up and you give it a go. It wasn't knowing these talks in the background of, oh, well, could we have a move around? They didn't do move arounds back then. So he turned up and he had to go. You know what I mean? And if he knew he could beat him, he'd do it. One of his best wins was a guy called Dom Negus who fought, I think, for the English title, or it might be in the southern area against Audley Harrison.
Right.
He fought Dom Negus 6 hours notice. He got the call on the Friday or Saturday lunchtime or Friday lunchtime and fought on the Friday night. So
real old school type, eh?
Yeah. So, he's given me some old school values. He's very old school in the way he does things. So yeah, it's interesting for me. He's not like one of these new style coaches, a bit of paddy work and that. Believes hard in like body sparring, which I'm getting used to again. So yeah.
Well, that's probably one of the very best ways to learn. I mean, if you can learn, from the old school type journeyman, you're going to learn probably more than from a more modern type of trainer who's never been in the ring. I mean, at least your trainer now will have a lot of experience in the ring, will know what to do, and probably even more importantly, what not to do, I would guess.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, with this guy, I've noticed a few things that I think, oh, I never knew that, or never knew this, and it was the times like you get journeymen in UK that are like 1 in 20. Back when he was boxing, if you lost like 5 on the trot of like fights, the board will drag you in and say, right, well, what's happening here? You know what I mean? You're going to start sorting yourself out. So he knew, think, oh, Christ, I'm going to have to get a win here and not just turn up and do the minimum. So he ended up performing out his backside and winning next week somehow. So that's how he operated. And fair play to him. He's really good, Tony, on that side of things, and got some, he's fought people like David Hay, Derek Chisora. Then he's fought David Hay for the Commonwealth. So, he's been in some big fights, really.
Oh, absolutely.
So good to learn off him, yeah.
And how about the business side of the profession? Do you have a manager or a promoter that looks after that business side?
Yeah, so I've got like a manager / promoter called Dennis Hobson. He's like the manager of Fight Academy and Fight Zone. He does a lot with Talk Sport now. They're actually doing a new concept now at the minute, which is quite interesting, Bob, is that they're doing UK v USA. So what they're doing is Spencer Oliver's picking all the UK fighters, 6 of them. Then Roy Jones Jr. is picking the 6 USA fighters, and they're going up against each other, and that's
Right.
at Chelsea. So it's kind of a bit of good rivalry going. So yeah, something different, I think.
Well, I'm officially now a neutral. Of course, I've been in Canada for the last 35 years, but I was born and raised in the UK, so I'll be cheering on the UK fighters.
Oh, I should hope so. I mean, really, Canada and USA don't like each other, do they? So it's like us and Scotland.
Not at the moment. They're looking to make us the 51st state and imposing tariffs on us. So,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, mad that, yeah. Didn't think that at all.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You probably won't have seen, but earlier this morning I uploaded a video about the ratings. I've got a bit of a bee in my bonnet, just as a fan, about the recent WBC ratings that rate Lawrence Okolie as the #1 contender. As somebody in the business and as a fighter yourself, can you explain to me and to anybody watching, first of all, how this happens? I understand the Bridgerweight issue, and let us have your opinion or your perspective on this, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, look, the rankings is confusing for anyone because, you've got obviously your governing bodies, your WBC, WBO, WBA, IBO, you got the 4 main governing bodies, and they don't help. So that causes confusion, across the board anyway. Oh, he's champion and he's champion. Well, who's the champion? There's confusion straight away. Then you've got, obviously, WBC have introduced that Bridgerweight, which is basically, when we say Bridgerweight, is, it's so by 14 stone 4 upwards is a heavyweight. Back in the day, that was fine because the heaviest they probably would ever get to is 16 stone. You know what I mean? And that's light this day and age. So really, they made that Bridgerweight so it's easier for likes of your Usyks and those sort of fighters. There's another weight for them, and those people aren't quite big enough. Now, what Lawrence Okolie's done is he fought that Louis Wronski in Poland, got the win, and I believe he has defended it once. So I think they've taken the stance that is like the WBO. If you are the winner or the champion of the weight below, like cruiserweight, Usyk was in WBO, like Chris Billings, you get an automatically slot, and a mandatory slot to fight the heavyweight and the next one above. So I think WBC have done those stated rankings because how I'm looking at it, and this is from obviously the hardcore perspective, Joe Gallagher, who's Lawrence Okolie's coach, he's not really, although he's in with Turki Al-Sheikh, they're not really popular in people's YouTube channels. They don't do so. That's the only stance how I've seen it and how it can happen. The Bridgerweight issue. It's a confusion from a fan's perspective because you don't know who's champion. That's for one. Then it adds even more confusion to the average fan, is that you've got international champion, you've got a regular champion of the WBA. It causes so much. Us hardcores get it because we've grown up with it, we know it. It's sort of evolved over the years. But why can't there just be one champion? There's just contender 1, 2, and 3, 4. You know what I mean? The same with all of them. So really, this boxing league that's evolving might be a good thing in a way because it just has one person at the top.
Yeah.
It might just cut out all of it. So it's interesting from a fan's point of view to see going forward because, when you've got a WBO champion and a WBC champion, there's 2 different champions. And that's why we have these, unified, undisputed, like Lennox Lewis last was, or obviously Usyk right now was. So from a fan's point of view, I can see how it's confusing. And I hope anyone listening to your channel gets roughly what I get, all the governing bodies. But it is confusing.
Yeah, like when I was, well, obviously, when I was growing up, there was one champion. And I very clearly remember that virtually everybody would know who the champion was and who the number one contender was and so forth. Now, of course, I've seen the belts split, but now it seems with this, incredible array of different belts. Like if you and I were to sit down in a pub with a few other guys who are keen fans, we could probably come up with 5 or 6 names and we'd pretty much agree on it. But then you could pick 5 or 6 names out of the rankings that we would say, huh? Who are those guys? And so I'm
Yeah.
concerned that a lot of sort of casual fans, they kind of lose interest in the sport because it's very hard for them to follow. And I'm with you that the boxing league might be a good idea. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Dana White. Don't get me wrong.
Neither am I. No, I don't like. But sorry to interrupt you there, Bob. Good thing about Dana White and the UFC model is that, which I do like, is because in UFC they don't really, and this is why we have a lot of crossover. And knowing on Porky's channel, he would have said this plenty of times. There was a lot of crossover where people have lost interest in boxing because the fights weren't being made.
Yeah,
They'll go over to UFC. They'll go over to UFC and they say, "Oh, right, you two have got issues and you don't like each other, right? You're getting it on in 7 weeks." And it's like they just get paid both a set amount. There's
yeah.
none of this like purses, etc. They'd be on like a 5-fight contract.
And that's it. You know what I mean? They just be on a set wage. It might be 200,000, whatever. Now, the fact of the matter is, they fought each other. No one avoided each other, and and I think if I would have loved to see an experiment take place, like when Matchroom were going at the top with Sky, with Eddie Hearn. I'd like to see Eddie Hearn swap with Dana White and see what Dana White would have done, because Dana White just made the fights. He wanted to see the best.
Yeah.
And so it's encouraging in a way, although I don't like Dana White and how his attitude is sometimes, but it's too much. The money element is sort of taken out. And when you've got someone like Turkey Al-Sheikh, who's got, let's say, the money's not an issue, fights are getting made. We're seeing, like, we've seen Better Beef and Bivol twice now. We never saw that.
And I don't think we would have seen Fury and Usyk without Turkey Al-Sheikh having influence in that respect either.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think is going to happen? Talking about Fury, do you think Tyson Fury is likely to come out of retirement, or do you think he's likely to stay in retirement?
Look, Tyson Fury is as predictable as the weather. He's like, it's like when it rains, it rains. When it's sunny. It depends what day he gets out of bed. If there's some money on the table, he'll make it. It will happen. It's like, look, they're both shot now. They're both done. He's lost twice now. It's a battle of Britain. It might be where it's getting a bit too late, like Amir Khan and like Kell Brooks sort of scenario.
Yeah.
It's come 3 or 4 years too late. You get what I'm saying? So that's where we might be at with it. But I'll still see it, because you know what? I think Joshua might do him.
Well, I'm not a Fury fan. I'm not really a massive Joshua fan either. So but I think that Joshua might. What I would like to see is for them to fight so that we can put a period at the end of the sentence. I mean, it won't satisfy the real hardcore fans of either, but at least it would sort of draw a line under it. I think it's a little bit of a tragedy if AJ and Fury don't meet. But do you think in England people would still sort of fill Wembley Stadium to see those guys fight?
Yeah, I mean, look, let's not beat around the bush. AJ, no matter how much we slag off Eddie Hearn, AJ is just like the new generation of Herbie Hyde.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
There's quite similarities in how Barry Hearn did it with Herbie Hyde, but he didn't get the status. He didn't really have the Olympic sort of stuff route. He didn't have all that backing behind him. So it's sort of a common trend on how AJ's developed in the same way, you know, with old men. You know, look, I mean, look at his best wins. You know, you had Vladimir Klitschko's on the settee for like 16, 18 months.
Yeah, he's
Then
41
you
years of
had,
age.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Then you had, you know, I mean, we're going from then. I mean, what, Pulev?
Who left?
Is that his next best win?
Yeah.
You see what I'm getting? It's an asterisk in his name. He hasn't beaten anyone really class. You know, they avoided Wilder, and rightly so, because I think Wilder at that time would have done him. So, you know, this is where we're at. And Eddie Hearn, and much stick we all give him as the hardcore people, he's done one hell of a job with him, markets him very well, and he's more. I mean, even when boxing finishes, he'll still be on adverts because
Yes.
he's got that sort of model about him. So really, you know, yeah, I can see it happening because they're both two big personalities, and I still think it will happen in the next 18 months. Something will happen with them two.
Well, I kind of hope so. I mean, the longer it goes, the less interested people are going to be. I mean, it's a little bit like
Yeah,
Mayweather and Pacquiao. When they eventually got it on, people were like, oh, well, ho hum, but people still turned up to watch it, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, look, it's, you know, look, it's a bit too late, and it's starting to become too late. But it's still the battle of Britain, you know. And I think Eddie and Frank may well start thinking, well, they're getting frozen out, and Frank, I think, will start getting frozen out now. You watch, and they're going to think, right, Eddie, do you fancy making this and get it done?
Yeah,
And Eddie would want to do his cash out job then.
for
You
sure.
watch.
I have a theory that Eddie Hearn may be looking to retire out of boxing when AJ and maybe Katie Taylor and Conor Benn are done. I'm not seeing Eddie Hearn having a lot left in the, as they would say in North America, there isn't much strength on the bench. He doesn't have a lot of key fighters left.
I mean, to be honest, Bob, you'll be quite right. You look at it. I mean, who has he got after that? Johnny Fisher. I mean, Johnny Fisher's never. The best he's going to probably get is maybe squeak a British title. Now,
Luckily,
he's in a dangerous fight against Dave Allen, so he's probably thought, right, it's do or die, or excuse my French, shit or bust, because what it is right. Well, Mark Tibbs, can we really get a win against the White Rhino? Yeah, maybe. I mean, he's learned this. He learned this. He's going to look at everything and think, right, well, I'm going to have to roll the dice on everything now. And what may happen is Johnny Fisher may well win, and he might just win.
yeah.
But if he does, he'd just become a manager for Johnny Fisher, or like associated with him and Sam Jones as a manager or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what'll end up happening.
I mean, I would like to see Dave Allen win. I thought Dave Allen won the first fight. I thought it was pretty even,
easily.
but the 10-8 sort of solves the problem. If Johnny Fisher loses, I think Johnny Fisher's got kind of nowhere to go. If he wins, does he fight Solomon Dakers? Does he try to fight David Adelaide? Where do you think he might go?
If I was Johnny Fisher's man, I mean, I can't stand Sam Jones. Well, by the way, we call it in that channel, Bob, we don't call him Sam Jones. We call him Scam Jones.
Okay, Scam Jones. Okay.
Scam Jones, because he can't be trusted. He was previously, and I hope he watches this, he was previously a coal salesman before he was a boxing manager. So let's get that right. But yeah, Sam Jones, he's taking L with fighters, and he's rolling the dice a lot. And to be honest with you, if I was Johnny's manager, I'd say, right, if he beats Dave Allen, yeah, okay. I wouldn't put him against David Adelaide. David Adelaide's that little bit too much for him. I'll put him against Dakaris, because Dakaris is a knockout artist as such. And if he can handle Dave Allen, then I'll handle Dakaris. David Adelaide, he just got a freak loss against a world-class Fabio Wardley. That's it. Simple as that. And to be fair, Fabio Wardley, he could be a great, actually. Him and Moses Atama, maybe with Daniel Dubois, will be at the top of the tree soon. All three of them.
I like Fabio Wardley. I know he doesn't have an amateur background. To me, that's neither here nor there. I don't actually care. I like Fabio Wardley. I like his fighting style. I also like the way that he comes across. He seems somebody who's going to be happy to get in there with anybody. He's not going to. He's not going to be he's not the kind of guy who would duck somebody.
Yeah, I mean, with Fabio Wardley, you got to count. He's done it the right way. So I know he's come from white collar. He's had about, I think, 18 fights at white collar. And what he did is him and his coach, they just went round the gyms around the UK and sparred everyone.
Right.
He took him and it will start, well, he'll go up to Scotland. He'll do Martin Bacody for a week. Then he'll just work the way down and he'll just go on the road and spar. They've put a lot of money into him. And Dillian White did the idea on it. Fair play to Dillian White. And all he did is went around gyms and sparred and had wars. And he would have got beaten up, Fabio Wardley, a lot, but he would have learned from it. And that's how he's become how he is. He's hardened to it. You know, he basically, you've seen him in his early days or earlier days against Nathan Gorman. Nathan Gorman, he's not crap. He's not rubbish.
Yeah.
He's about British level when he's fit. When he's not as big as a Michelin man, he's decent, very good, Gorman. Now, from a travelling background as well, he threw the kitchen sink at Fabio Wardley that night. But guess what? Fabio Wardley had an even bigger kitchen sink to throw back, and he couldn't handle it, Gorman. So that's what Fabio Wardley's got in his locker. You pull it on him, he'll put it on your back twice as more, and that's what he's got. And he just, that night against Fraser Clark, he thought, I'm not going to mess about with him. I'm just going to deal with him. And that's what he's like. And the only person I can see, and I'd like to see it years to come, maybe 2 years to come, I'd like to see Fabio Wardley v Moses Tama. That'd be a cracking fight. I'll pay money for that all day long.
That would be a great fight, an absolutely awesome fight.
Yeah.
Getting back to Johnny Fisher, do you think he has it in him, talent-wise, to get to a British championship? Do you see Johnny Fisher, heavyweight champion of Great Britain?
Yeah, I do think so, because in this era, definitely, because we're watered down. If you think the product, if you think to get to British, what you need, he's definitely got it. He's limited. Yes, we know he's limited. You know, he probably hasn't got the inside work. I mean, he couldn't deal with Dave Allen in the inside.
Yeah.
He hung in there. He showed his big cojones, which he had, which took character. But the thing is he's got to be mapped the right way, and he's got the best people in his ways. I mean, he could beat Dacres. You know, I mean, you've got to think who's actually better than him. Yeah, Moses Tama. If Moses Tama had been and gone and goes European, people like that. I mean, you know, he beat Alan Babbage when no one wanted to know him. You know what I mean?
Sorry to interrupt, but how about Fraser Clark? Do you think Fraser Clark has got enough left in the tank to?
You'll find Fraser Clark would be like a Derek Chisora, like a gatekeeper for the European bit. I think that could be a possibility. That it'd be like how Dillian White fought in John Lewison for the British, like a poor fight like that. It could be like Johnny Fisher v Fraser Clark for a British. It could happen that. You know what I mean? So that's a good shout, Bob.
I would still put my money probably on Fraser Clark as the more talented boxer. I just don't know what Fraser Clark has left after that horrendous beating that he got of Fabio Wardley. Those, you know, the first fight took a lot out of him, and then the second fight, what was one of the knockouts of the year.
You know what we're seeing with Fraser Clark? He's been in EIS, the Olympic route, too long.
Yeah.
He turned over, 32, 33, or whatever age it is, in his 30s anyway. And it's too late. It's almost like we're seeing the similar sort of thing like how Audley Harrison was. He didn't turn into professional as well as he should have done. And he was the next best thing. I'll give you another example. People like, you remember when Andy Cruz, he was in the Olympics too long. Although it was great defensive work and his mechanics is phenomenal. Again, coming to the pro, those extra minutes seems to throw him or something.
Yeah.
Because those 2 minutes normally in amateur, you got to show that much more in those 2 minutes. So sometimes, like we're seeing with Fraser Clark, he hasn't really gelled to the professional game yet. He could squeak a British and English or something, Commonwealth, but I don't think much more than that. People are going to overtake him, and you'll find Johnny Fisher would be just right. That would be just a 50-50 fight, him and Fraser, I think.
Yeah, that'd be a good fight. It'd be if, of course, Johnny Fisher can get through Dave Allen. I think if he
It's an if,
loses to
innit?
if he loses to Dave Allen, I don't know where he's going to go. For me as a fan, I don't care about losses. It's how a person overcomes the losses. But in the modern world, the losses seem to hurt people a lot more.
We had this debate in the channel, didn't it? I sort of put it up there. Is it better to be like a Floyd Mayweather that has never been beaten, sort of maybe the late end of your career, last 5-6 fights, start to cherry pick who you want to fight, keep the last fight. Even Calzaghe did it, he avoided a few of them. Then, or is it a bit better to be like Lennox Lewis, who lost to Ratman, took a fight out, beat that person, then took him on again, went off to America, taken on, had Emmanuel Stewart as his coach and that, reset, got going, and and beat him. Is that better to come over adversity? It's mixed on that, because they say, well, surely if you're that good, you never get beat. You know what I mean? But I think it's the mental side.
Yeah,
you need to get over.
I mean,
if that makes sense.
I take a different view. I mean, I said, look at some of the greats. They all, with the exception of Rocky Marciano, took a loss. My favorite fighter of all time, Sugar Ray Robinson, took losses. And it's how you come back from the loss that's important to me. So if Johnny Fisher loses to Dave Allen, for me, it wouldn't really be a big black mark. But I can understand that a lot of people would view it that way.
I mean, to be honest, why? I mean, this is how I look at it. If he loses to Dave Allen, why can't he be a good high-level domestic fighter and gatekeeper for the British? Because he lost and hasn't quite got there, it doesn't mean he's over. It's too much of this, you stigma, you lose one, everything's over. Well, I mean, look, he could fight Tommy Welsh, who's like in that top 15 guy.
Yeah.
Be a great dust up, someone arrive, another person in London, like, I don't know, like a Frank Ignatius, there's some like decent domestic level heavyweights that.
Yeah, they would make for great fights.
Why do we watch heavyweights fight? To basically see someone get knocked out. That's ultimately what we watch.
Exactly. Exactly.
So really, it's let's be honest. Johnny Fisher can knock someone out if he wants to, so we'd want to see it. Yeah, and he's a brand as well, really, a potential brand.
Yeah, certainly he is, and certainly his father is as well. They've got an incredible social media following. Now, talking about knockouts, the king of knockouts at the moment, of course, is Daniel Dubois, after the way that he knocked out AJ. I have a view, but I'd like to hear your view. Do you think he should give Joseph Parker a rematch? Sorry, not a rematch, a fight, or do you think that he's going to go on and fight Usyk? What do you think? I know what he should. I know what he's likely to do. What do you think he should do?
Morally, he should be fighting Joseph Parker. That was the fight there. Because Usyk fell ill, or whatever the excuse is, antihistamines. I mean, I think it's a load of knackers, personally, but that's my opinion. But I think you've got to beat the man. You've got to beat the man. Well, you get this. Well, you don't just skip because you decided or you've got ill or whatever, So he should fight Joseph Parker. But then, let's have it right. Joseph Parker won against someone who hasn't even had a camp.
That's right.
So what I'd do is, if I was Parker, or if I was Turkey Al-Sheikh, I'd say, right, you've got two options, Joseph. What you do is let Martin Piccoli have 10 weeks. You can have the rematch against him. Okay? Yeah. Or you can fight Daniel Dubois. Give it Joseph Parker the option. Then what I do is with Daniel Dubois is that, well, who's the next one in line? Well, we'll find the next one in line. So let's say do a little trade off. Let's say, I mean, I'm trying to think of any other heavyweights at the minute. I mean, they just seem to like Fabio Wardley. Put him against Fabio Wardley.
Yeah.
Defend it because he surely deserves an opportunity. But this is what we're doing with promoters, and it's sort we're starting to see it stop a little bit. All this like avoiding fighters of I won't do that fight, it's too risky, or I won't do. You won't catch Liverpool. Liverpool can't avoid Manchester United or vice
Yeah.
versa. They've got to play them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Good point.
So,
Good point. Yeah, I mean, I would like to see Usyk, who's only got 2 fights left. I'd like to see him fight fresh faces. I'm not interested really. This is as a fan in seeing Dubois against Usyk again.
but why does he have to fight everyone twice? What's this? You know,
yeah.
I mean, I've got to prove a point and fight everyone twice. It's getting boring. And to be honest, Usyk's flogged Anthony Joshua twice. You know, I was there at the first fight. I thought Usyk was marvelous that night. Then, you know, obviously he fought Fury. How many times do we need to do this? Now, people keep saying, oh, well, and this is the narrative what Daniel Dubois is playing on. Well, it was a low blow and all this stuff, and there was a bit of adversity. Well, okay, let's park up it. Okay, low blow or whatever you want to say. The referee's king in there.
Yeah.
If the referee, I did a low blow, or someone did a low blow on me, sorry. The referee says, oh, can you take 5 minutes if you want? Absolutely, I'm going to take 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm going to regain everything I got, right? Usyk fought that then and there, right, you're becoming a problem. And what happened after that? Usyk just dealt with him.
Yeah.
It didn't mess about, he just dealt with him. And he dealt with a pace that Daniel Dubois couldn't deal with. That's a fact. We all saw that. So, you know, the referee's king in there. So you can't really blame about the decision. The fact is, it's a mixed opinion of half of the people saying low blow and some people saying a low shot, as is a fair shot. Gives me reason to believe, well, if it's up to the debate and it's obvious, you know, it's more likely to be legal. So, you know, he dealt with Daniel Dubois, simple. So let's not beat around the bush. So we don't want to see that again. It will be the same scenario. Joseph Parker, give Bacoli a go if you really want. I say that's your reward.
Or Caballero.
You know, Caballero, perfect. Caballero doesn't get mentioned. Fabio Wardley, whoever, give him a go. But to be honest, I want to see Usyk just retire.
Me
I
too.
love him that much. I want to see him retire and retire on the zero and say, I'm the greatest. I just really want him to say that. And just walk around the goat, have a goat hat on, and just put it in Tyson Fury's face. Say, I'm the goat, not you.
Perfect. I see that we're running out of time, so we should probably cut this off. I really, really appreciate you coming on board, Max. I hope to see you on the channel again. Best of luck in your training camp, and you'll have to let us know when you've got a fight scheduled and who the opponent is, so that we can all follow that and follow your career.
No problem. It's nice to meet you, Bob, and you take care of yourself. And you know, well, it's nice and sunny over here. It's been a nice day, so I'm just going to gloat at you because it's cold over there.
It's gloriously and sunny here, but it's also snow.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, my friend. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks a lot, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.